Welcome. So we're going to embark on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And so before we turn to a detailed consideration of the 4 foundations and what lies ahead, to what we will covering, as mentioned, the teachings on the 4 foundations came down to us from a teaching given by the Buddha, known as the Sattipathana Sutta. That was a sutta that was handed down to us by the Buddha some 2500 years ago. And the Buddha was so in tune, because he was enlightened, he was so in tune with the goings on of the mind and the behaviors of human beings. He created this wonderful sutta, Sattipathana Sutta. A summarized version of the sutta is given below. We're going to talk about it. Added are headings not part of the original sutta to help you follow the sequence. You need to follow the sequence of the sutta, so you can put it all together as a unit. So as we proceed with this sutta, you may find it helpful to turn back to it from time to time to refresh yourself, to refresh your memory about what it's about what the message is within the sutta. And so and what's been covered, and look ahead at what's to come with regards to the message within the sutta. So we should try reading the sutta, out loud. So when you turn to it, it's beneficial to hear the Buddha's words as if they were, intended for you. And so, as one method, you may have your own little method, your own style. Well, that's okay. And so, when you listen to it loudly, you will feel that it was intended specifically for you, which of course they are, the words of advice. It's not meant to be read like a novel. No, sutta is not meant to be read like a novel or digested like a university textbook. No, it's nothing near that. The Buddha suttas are to be enjoyed, to be delved into, to be understood, to be probed. Rather, the teachings of the Buddha are to be explored and practiced, whatever message the Buddha has within the sutta. And the Sattipathana, the Sattipathana Sutta is one sutta that, well, it's good to get familiar with. More like a piece of great music. As your familiarity grows, your experiential understanding of the Dharma increases. The experience, your personal experiential understanding of the Dharma takes on a life of its own. You give it life when you read it. When you read it loud, you give it life. And you'll feel that it was all meant for you to enjoy, to cherish. So, in the beginning, mindfulness takes much effort, but eventually it becomes second nature. To be mindful, or mindfulness, to implement mindfulness, it does take a lot of effort. It does take effort. It takes energy. But if we continue being mindful of what we're doing every day, 24 hours a day, well, it becomes second nature. That we are aware of everything around us. That we're in touch with everything around us. So, a daily mindfulness practice, if you're already practicing meditation, or if reading a book on meditation, and this inspires you to start, you can make reading the Sattipathana Sutta part of your meditation. Why not? Make it part of your meditation session. If you meditate, then make the Sattipathana Sutta part of your meditation session. So I recommend that people begin a session of meditation with, when you start your meditation and you're embarking on this meditation session, with thoughts of loving kindness. So begin your meditation session with thoughts of loving kindness. Thoughts of loving friendliness for your parents, teachers, relatives, friends, strangers, adversaries, and ultimately for all living beings. It's a good thing to start your meditation session with loving kindness, with friendliness, thoughts of friendliness. Starting your meditation session in this way helps develop your concentration and also avoid any resentment that may arise as you sit in meditation. Any resentment. Concentration also, well, will help you against any resentment that may arise as you are meditating. So it's a good thing. Then before turning your attention to the breath or other point of focus, you may find it worthwhile to read aloud. Read the Sattipathana Sutta loud. Read it loud so you can hear it. Recite or even chant the version of the Sattipathana. Chant it. So you can enjoy it, verbally enjoy it. You feel that it was all meant for you. and read it slowly. Read or recite slowly to give yourself time to review in your mind what you've learned. By reading this beautiful sutta out loudly. And what you've understood about each point, about each sentence within the sutta. If you find that you cannot remember the Buddha's meaning, or that, well, you may be confused somewhat, or you're confused about something, maybe a certain part within the sutta, which can happen, you should resolve to read more, or to ask a more experienced meditator for help. You should seek the help. Seek the help from a more experienced meditator. Because there will be times where you're confused about something. So to resolve to read more or to ask a more experienced meditator for help is a good thing. If you read and think about the sutta every day, eventually the whole sequence of mindfulness practices will be at the tip of your fingers. You become really experienced. But you need to read it every day. Think about the sutta every day. Eventually the whole sequence of mindfulness practices will be at the tip of your tongue, if you want to put it that way. So, the four foundations of mindfulness, Sattipathana Sutta. And so, this is what the Buddha said. So this is the actual sutta. Because this is the direct path for the purification of beings. Because this is the direct path for the purification of beings. For the surmounting of sorrow and lamentation. For the disappearance of pain and grief. This is the Buddha speaking. For the attainment of the true way. For the realization of Nibbana, namely the four foundations of mindfulness. These are the words of the Buddha. Solution to pain and grief, for the attainment of the true way, for the realization of Nibbana, namely the four foundations of mindfulness. So the Buddha goes on, and the first item that he speaks about is mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the breath, of our breathing, our process of breathing. And that's the first item that he talks about. Mindfulness of the breath. Mindfulness of the four postures. Walking, standing, sitting, and lying down. Mindfulness with clear comprehension of what is beneficial. Comprehension, understanding of what is beneficial of suitability of the meditator's domain of non-delusion. Buddha is giving a clear directive, yeah? A very clear directive of non-delusion, worldly and spiritual. When he talks of non-delusion, he talks of worldly and spiritual. Awareness of their manifestation, arising and disappearance. This is what the Buddha is speaking about. And the third point that the Buddha mentions is mindfulness of mind. Understanding the mind as greedy or not greedy, hateful or not hateful, deluded or not deluded, contracted or distracted, either one or the other. This is the mind, mindfulness of the mind. Not developed or developed, not developed or underdeveloped, not supreme or supreme, not concentrated or concentrated. This is the mind. What a clear directive. What a clear directive from the Buddha. Not liberated or liberated. Awareness of its manifestation, arising and disappearance. That's mindfulness of the mind. The Buddha goes on and speaks about the fourth mindfulness, the point on mindfulness, is mindfulness of Dharma. 5 mental hindrances. There are 5. There are 5 mental hindrances that he talks about. Sense desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, skeptical doubt. These are the 5. These are all the hindrances that the Buddha speaks about. That they're going to hinder us in our meditation. Awareness of their manifestation is when they manifest, their origin and disappearance. If we are aware of these manifestations, their emergence and disappearance, the 5 aggregates of clinging, material form, feelings, perceptions, mental formations and consciousness. The Buddha speaks about this. Awareness of their manifestation. Once again, these things are going to manifest. Arising and dissolution. And so, there's a lot. There's a lot to be covered there. So now the Buddha goes on and speaks about 6 internal and 6 external sense bases. There are 6 internal and there are 6 external sense bases. The eye and visible objects, the ear and sounds, nose and smells, tongue and tastes, body and tangible objects, mind and mental objects, knowledge of them and of the arising, when they arise, abandoning and future non-arising of the fetters that originate. These fetters, they're going to originate, dependent on both. It will be they will be interdependent. Fetters are interdependent. The Buddha goes on and speaks about the 7 factors of enlightenment. There are 7. There are 7 factors of enlightenment. And the first one's mindfulness, which is the investigation of Dharma, which is second. Energy, joy, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. There's 7 factors. 7 factors of enlightenment. Mindfulness, investigation of Dharma, energy, joy, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. The knowledge of their presence, their arising, and their development. Knowledge, wisdom. Need to be aware of all these factors arising and their development. And the Buddha goes on and talks about the 4 noble truths, which is suffering, its origin, its cessation, and the path that leads to the cessation of suffering. What leads to suffering? We need to know. What leads to its cessation, and the path that leads to the cessation of suffering. And it's the Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path. Skillful understanding, thinking, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness and concentration. Because this is what the Buddha is talking about. Buddha is continuing to say, and he says, he's addressing the bhikkhus, because if anyone should properly develop these 4 foundations of mindfulness for 7 years, or even for 7 days, one of 2 fruits could be expected for that person. And these are the fruits, the end result of mindfulness for 7 years or for 7 days. One of the 2 fruits could be expected for that person. Either final knowledge here and now, or if there is a trace of clinging, some form of clinging to the world, whatever. If there is a trace of clinging left, the state of non-returning. The Buddha gives us his guarantee here. Yeah? And so there we go. Those were the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Sattipathana Sutta, that the Buddha gave. The Buddha handed down to us some 2,500 years ago. And the Buddha recommends that we read the Sattipathana Sutta every day, and we read it loudly. And we endeavor to understand its meaning, the directive within it. Eventually it'll become second nature, he says. It'll become second nature. How good? Sattipathana Sutta. And so if you enjoyed this delivery, as much as I've enjoyed reading it and delivering it to you, please subscribe to my channel. Because there's a lot more coming regarding the commentary on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. the entire commentaries coming your way. So until next time, have a great day and stay safe.